Yeah, we're trying to connect with our friend, Mr. Ed. Just give us a second. Yeah, give us a few seconds. We'll be there. We are waiting for our friend, Mr. Ed. Just give us a few seconds. He'll be here and proceed with our agenda. Hmm. Hello? Okay, okay. Accepted already. Yeah, welcome, Mr. Ed.
Yeah,
Welcome, welcome. We've been waiting for you, but we are glad to have you again.
yeah.
Just a second, let me. Yes, so we are happy to have you once again.
Yeah.
And I must tell you that you are looking fresh, yeah?
Oh, thank you, guy.
Yeah, you are looking fresh now. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah.
Actually, there is issues arising, and I would like to hear your perspective, as we join hands to bring what I call an idea to change the world. Because I believe that what we are doing here will go out to the world, and the world is going to see it. And perhaps I hope it will be beneficiary at least to one person. And by so doing, I hope one day we will achieve the goal of building a more safe world and a more prosperous world together. So, Mr. Ed, I must tell you that you are welcome once again.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, today we'll be looking at the nuclear agreement, or perhaps, if I should say, the conversation between United States and Iran on Iran nuclear program. And also, I would like us to look at the current trade war going on between America and perhaps I can say America and the world, because it's beyond just America and China, you know. But China and America, they occupied the media, you
So,
know. And Trump, since he took office, he has been doing his best to make sure that the war in Ukraine will come to an end. But somehow, I heard the Trump administration saying recently that if nothing works, that they are going to pull out. You know, so this trade agenda, I think it is very important that we look into it, and I will so much appreciate your
mm,
analysis on them. You know,
so
but first of all, I would like us to start with China and America trade war. What do you think about it? Do you think America is winning this war so far?
it's actually clear now to the entire world. We know that the United States have already lost the trade war, and they are like asking China to come to the table. China is saying that they are not willing to come to the table until the United States can show respect to China. But the US is saying they are waiting for China to come to the table. It sounds that the United States is desperate for China to come to the table, for them to maintain their status, which of course China is not willing to do that. And when someone is desperate in that type of manner, which means that person is just like you are fighting someone and then you know you are losing, but you are still trying to stand your ground, but looking for other people to come to help you in the process by fighting the both of you people. And then other people will see it like it was a jaw fight. But
Yeah,
technically, if that fight could continue, you could be totally distressed at that point. That's exactly what the United States don't want. So they are like asking China to come to the table. It was not just China that the United States put tensions on. The United States put tension on so many countries. But because they mistakenly put tension on China, I don't know if it was mistake or they were intentionally doing that. And China pushed them in the corner. That's how they were able to remove the terror from on other countries for them to get a little bit of breathing space. But
yes,
then they know that without China, the whole world would be like a hostage. They'll be honest to ourselves. China produce almost everybody things. We can say Korea produce a lot of things. But the reality is, if you come to Korea and look into the Korean market, you will see a whole lot of things from China. Chinese goods dominate the Korean market,
absolutely.
honestly. So if you say Korea is producing, the question is why Korea is producing so much? Why when you check everywhere in Korea, Chinese goods dominate the market. So in short, is China is the industrial hub for the entire world. We should respect that. So when it comes, according to the United States, they are buying 15% of Chinese goods. 15% is not that much. China can easily find another market to put in that 15%. It's possible. It's just with time. That's all the Chinese need. So when you ask me about the trade war, the United States cannot win the trade war against China. China is too powerful. The power China
And
has is beyond the United States. They'll be honest when it comes to economy.
I will tell you this. my happiness about China is that China was able to, should I say, overpower the world within the space of 20 to 30 years. So I appreciate such hard working because if you look at Chinese market, you will agree with me that they became so powerful just within 20 and 30 years, 30 years gap.
Yeah,
40 years ago, China wasn't as powerful as they are today.
sure.
So I appreciate their hard work and their effort. But I would like to ask you a question. You said that America is actually expecting China to come to the table and they are behaving like they are in haste. Like they want it now, 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 now. But you made a
Sure.
point. I would like to ask you, what type of respect are Chinese expecting from America? Like, what is their perspective? How do they want America to present themselves?
You see, like for example, the United States Vice President J.D. Vance is calling the Chinese people peasant. For example,
Mhm.
how can you be so disrespectful to a group of people who have money more than you? They have almost everything more than you. You you in debt. You owe the people almost 800 billion.
Right.
You are paying a lot of interest rate on 800 billion. How can you go and borrow money from people who are peasant? That's why the Chinese people say, okay, that's fine since we are peasant, but however, you are still living on our money. So you can be so arrogant and rule like that. China is a world superpower, and they are the superpower when it comes to economy. The United States economy, the Chinese. Let's be honest, the Chinese economy is bigger than the United States currently. It's too big and too powerful. The Chinese are self-reliance. The United States they can rely on themselves at this point.
I agree with you, but I would like to say this. America themselves, they are the ones hurting themselves. Like the billionaires in the country, if you look at the major American products, if we are to be honest, you will agree with me that most of those luxury products are made in China. But in the other hand, they will rebrand it and tell us it is made in maybe Italy or wherever they might call it. But the reality is that all these products are made in China. And if you look at those American big companies, they are producing in China, assembling in America,
Sure.
which means China has some certain power here. They can make some certain decisions that will affect American market so badly. But I am of the opinion, I would like you to make a comment on this. I am of the opinion that America has upper hand in these scenarios because America is the consuming market. China is more of producing, right? So
Sure.
the supply that China is supplying to America on yearly basis is too high. And if anything affects that market, I think Chinese companies are going to be in trouble financially. What do you think?
Um, really, like I said, the United States is just taking 15%. The United States is just taking 15% from the Chinese market. So
Okay.
technically, the United States is not consuming like we are expecting. We are expect like our expectation. Like
Mhm.
people think that the United States is consuming like half of the Chinese goods, but no. You should also know that there are other markets that the Chinese haven't reached to yet. So if the Chinese reach to those markets, they are going to eventually be able to give that 15%, the 15% that they are giving to the United States, they can easily divert that 15% to other market, which of course is what the Chinese are working on right now. Right now. So without the United States, the Chinese can survive. But the United States will struggle they will struggle really hard without the Chinese. Because even if the Chinese decide to relax and just let the United States be, look at the interest rate on 800 billion they are paying. It's a lot of money, too much money that they
Exactly.
can cover that 15% from the United States. Then when China reach to other market, what do you think it will be? So
Okay.
it's just a matter of time for China to divert that 15% from the US market to other market.
Quickly, I've got your point, and I think you have a very nice point here. If America is consuming only 15% of Chinese market, it means that actually China can overcome this challenge.
Sure.
But does it mean now that Chinese have upper hand now? Like they are they have more strength now to face America because America is consuming only 15% of the product. And if they look elsewhere, they might see market to supply that 15%. Does it make it easier for them to stand against America?
Yeah. With the That'll be on without the United States 15%, the Chinese can still survive. So the Chinese don't need the United States 15% to survive for their market to survive. They don't really need it. But because they want more money, that's why they are going after it. Business is chances. So without the United States, the Chinese can still survive.
Really?
Sure. The Chinese don't need the United States to survive. They don't need them.
Okay. Now, what do you think that will happen to those American companies in Okay, now I want to tell you this. Since the beginning of Trump administration, Apple has promised to invest 100 billion in America. And do you know that majority of the Apple phones are produced in China, assembled in California, America, right?
Sure. Sure.
Now, what do you think that is going to happen to those American companies in China?
For the American company that is in China, they'll ask this question. They'll ask ourselves the question: who are the one producing the goods for the American companies in China?
Chinese.
The Chinese. So is the difference here that there is just what? It's just ownership.
Yeah.
The Americans they will not be able to take the company from the ground and carry it. Even when they do it, the Chinese can still build those companies within 3 to 4 months. We know the Chinese infrastructure development and how it goes. You and myself don't need to sit down and discuss it.
Yeah.
So this ownership they need to change. Once they change ownership, the Chinese will still carry on the production,
But not with the same name, right?
not with the same name.
So they have to start from the scratch to find market for whatsoever they'll be producing there. See, Apple has made name, right? A lot of people goes for Apple product now today, But if you start from scratch to build a new company, you know that the challenge you are going to find might not be the money to build it because you can actually go to the bank. So far, you have been existing, you have some share in the bank. You can actually go to them and sort out some billions to build your company. But the challenge is going to be the market. And America seems to be like major consumer in the world. That's why every market is looking to do business with America. If you look at all the producing countries, China, Korea, Japan, Italy, France, UK, Germany, they all want to do business with America because every product is sellable in America. Yeah. So I think it's not going to be very easy for China to boycott American market. It's not going to happen because if that's happen, you know that even the indigenous Americans they are going to perhaps protest against their government. And this is my fear. Trump might likely face the consumers at home. You might see protests everywhere very soon if this trade war didn't come to an end as quick as possible. And that's why I think this is the reason why Trump administration is calling for Chinese to come to the table as soon as possible. Do you think so?
They,
Are they afraid
they,
of protest?
the Americans is losing a lot of money every single day when Chinese goods now go to the Chinese market. And we should also know that the Chinese, it's not the Chinese government, but the Chinese people themselves, they are destroying almost all of the bigger brands and things in China, in the United States. We should also know that. So if the US want to start over, they will have to rebuild almost every single industry because the industry have already been destroyed. And when they continue on this page, most of the United States industry going to be destroyed beyond repair because we are seeing the weakness and the flaws in the US economy now, and the scam. So we should also know that.
You are very correct. And I think that's what Trump is trying to do. Actually, in my opinion, agenda of Trump is not bad for the people of America,
Sure.
right? A
Yeah.
lot has happened, and Trump is trying to be like a messiah to his people. You know,
Mhm.
he's trying to be a messiah to his people. But the fear is that the same people he's trying to rescue might turn against him within a short while.
Sure.
Because the pain, they might not be able to bear it. And Chinese understand this. They understand it.
Yeah.
Actually, I come across one Chinese I think he's a professor. He was telling the world that the Chinese goods, if China is making $1 gain from any product produced in their country, supplied to America, that the American retailers or wholesalers that they are making up to $5 from that same product. So you see that I think it is the people that is punishing their people, not actually the Chinese. But anyway, we just wish that this trade war come to an end as soon as possible because it is actually hurting, in fact, doing a lot to the global market, not just Chinese market. You know, we want stability everywhere. Okay, I must say thank you for your analysis on this. It is very important because we want everywhere to be calm. We want the trade war to come to an end as soon as possible. We wish every one of them good luck, both Trump, both America, and China. But let's move forward a bit. Recently, there have been efforts from Trump administration to stop the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. You and I saw what happened last when Ukrainian President Zelensky visited the White House. We saw, we heard his speech, and we actually saw what happened at the end. He went home without anything being done. There was no deal signed. And since then, he came back saying, you know what, I am ready to sign the deal. And I am hearing recently that he have signed it and he wants the deal to be renegotiated again. Number one. Number two, the Russian side, they seems to be making things not to be very easy for Trump administration. And I think that is why the Trump administration came out recently to say, you know what, we are going to give you guys another chance. But if you guys refuse to play like an adult, we are going to leave you to continue unaliving yourself. And I am like, what do you think might be the biggest hindrance to this peace deal?
The biggest hindrance to this peace deal will be from Europe. Actually, from Europe,
Why do you think so?
because because the European they are people that they are the parasite. We should They are the parasite. They depend on other people for survival. And the Ukrainians have a lot of resources that they want, and some European companies are taking it from them. So, what do you think if Russia and Ukraine negotiate peace? Because Russia is saying that they can never allow those regions to be part of Ukraine anymore,
Yeah,
and definitely the Russians are going to get their will, and most of those resources are in those regions. So you should know that when those resources go to Russia, the European can easily steal them, and they can't take it at a low price anymore. And they will have to come to Africa. And now, as some African countries are standing up against the Europeans, and eventually we are going to see more African countries who are standing up against the Europeans. So how will Europe survive? So the Europeans know all of that. So they are trying. They will fight hard to prevent that peace deal. So when Iri Zelensky go to the table, that guy is just a comedian who want more money. So if Europe can print more money and give it to him, he waiting to slaughter everybody in Ukraine. They'll be honest. So the European are the major enemy to peace in Ukraine.
right. Now, if they print more money, he's ready to allow his people to be unalived. I agree with you. And I do not like him because of that character. But I would like to ask you this. Don't you think that preventing this peace deal from happening is actually endangering the whole world? Because if Trump couldn't get his way now by stopping this conflict, I don't know anybody who will be able to do it in the future, right? Because Trump administration wholeheartedly wants to stop all this conflict. He wants to see peace return, and he wants to see people from being unalived. But now there is few elements of people who do not want it to stop. But if this conflict continue for a long time, my fear is that it might actually end up with nuke, and by then it might affect the entire Europe. So does Europeans actually want real global conflict, or what are they seeking for? Because there must be aim beyond minerals.
They, if you give chance to the criminal to go in the United States Federal Reserve for them to steal money, um, they are
Yeah,
going to steal as much as they can.
yeah,
After a few times, when they tell them another money is somewhere for them to steal, they are still going to steal it. They are not thinking about the danger. They are only thinking about the money. So that's how the European. We should firstly understand the nature of the European. The European can survive only in chaos. That's how the European can survive. That's their history. We should firstly understand their history. They only survive through chaos. From time to time in history, the Europeans have always been in chaos, killing, slaughtering each other until they find another people to slaughter, which was the African. And the king they slaughter the African too. And then they went back again among themselves. They divided themselves into Jewish, European, like that, and they start to slaughter each other again. So after that slaughtering was finished, they started moving from country to country against slaughtering people for them to survive. That's how the Europeans have always been surviving. So Europe don't means any good for the world. They don't care.
Actually, their history is very rough, eh?
Yeah, so before you should, before you judge somebody, when you, like for example, when you go to court in in the US, before they start to judge you, they start to read, or a criminal case. If if they want to build a criminal profiles, they first they read the criminal history and they know that person history, then they can determine how long that person can stay in jail, if that person can if when they free that person can live a better life if it was mistake, or if that crime is in the person DNA. So that's how they investigate people most often. They read the person profile, their background, their history. So looking at the European history, it just slaughter. So the European not care if they use nuclear weapon or not. They all they want, they just want money. So that's it.
And this is what I've been telling my black people. Our, Europeans are our neighbor, right?
Yeah.
I've been telling them we have to understand how these guys operate. These guys are not joking. You have to imagine that someone came to your territory, take ownership of your territory, and in fact rename and share your territory among themselves. That's what they did to Africa. But it seems like a lot of people have not come to understand that, you know. But let's still continue with the crisis in Ukraine. What I've been, I come across a Russian friend, and we decided to meet up and have a dinner together. And we went to a restaurant. We spent over 2 hours there having conversation. But the entire conversation was, she was telling me that the Europeans are preparing for war, to go to war against Russia. And I was like asking myself, if you are preparing for war and there is a solution to stop the war, why not accept it? Because as US is threatening to stop supplying weapons to Russia to Ukraine, I think some of those European countries are still pushing more weapons to Ukraine.
Sure.
So my confused I'm confused because you are in conflict, which you have failed to negotiate a peace deal. But someone has offered himself as a major player ready to bring peace to the land. And you guys are still blocking it. I I am believing that these guys really want this crisis to escalate far beyond Ukraine. If he does, I think they are going to lose more because Russia is not actually going to stretch forth their hand to America easily. Rather, they are going to perhaps attack American interests in Europe. And those American interests in Europe are in their countries. Does it mean that these leaders does not care about life of people again? Or what changed?
Those people, they don't really care about life. They only care about their money. When you look when you look at the Rothschild history, they were supporting parties who are fighting war. They're supporting two people who are fighting, which means you keep slaughtering because as you slaughter, I'm making more money. So their job is they just want to make money. For example, the European always talk about human life is important when the war started in Ukraine. If they know human life is really important, why when they went to the table, they see Europeans stop Ukraine from negotiating, the Ukraine should fight.
Fight what?
They should fight. And who are dying? It's not human being.
And do you know what is confusing me here? Ukraine, they believe that the reason of the conflict is because they want to join the European alliance, which is NATO, right?
Yeah.
Why not seek membership of EU first? If they love them, why not admit them into EU? Because
The,
I've never heard Putin saying, don't join EU.
the Ukrainian, it's not like the Ukrainian really want to join NATO. No. Like what happened, the American have always get this idea like they have to create an enemy for themselves, enemy that they will keep fighting for the rest of their life. They will use that enemy to continue stealing the American people money. So they create Russia as the enemy. So they've been doing everything they can do to keep Russia as the enemy. And the European, they themselves too, because they are almost like puppet to the United States, they find themselves in that crossfire. Like you said, the Russian is an enemy, but when you ask them how how or what the Russian did to be your enemy, they just scratch their head like this, no answers.
It seems like Africa is not actually existing because they have not realized how this world is being run. What do you think?
The African have presented themselves as they have presented themselves as a parasite too. They have presented themselves as people who don't really have sense. They'll be, I'm an African.
I got it.
You see, people look for opportunities to take their chances. Donald Trump have given out opportunities to Africans. But the question is, what is African doing to grab on that opportunities? The people who enslaved the African for years in memorial, Donald Trump have come and say, you people are free. But the Africans are still there. We want to be slaves. The question is, the first question is, why is Tinubu still doing in power? Those are the
How about
questions you should be
Paul
asked.
with Cameroon?
those are the questions you should be asking yourself. What are the people doing to take Tinubu from power? Because he's such a bad leader, let's be honest. Cameroon, other African countries, what are they doing? They are just sitting down and just saying, and they are just suffering. And we keep continuously to suffer.
Okay. Do you think that democracy have failed in Africa or Africans have failed themselves? What do you think?
Democracy have failed in Africa.
Who is to be blamed? The leaders or the people?
Before we blame the Americans, but
Okay.
now Burkina Faso have shown to us that we can stand by ourselves. Niger have also shown the same thing to us. Other countries have also shown the same thing to us. But what are we doing to grab on that opportunities?
Okay. I will tell you a story and I will also ask you a question. I believe that Liberia is among the West Africa, right?
Yeah,
So she's a member of ECOWAS, right?
yeah,
All right, good. I met somebody from Haiti. He's an old man. He visited Korea, but I happens to come across him, and we sat down for a long time to have conversation. And he was giving me names of leaders in Africa that black people are praising around the world. And I was, I am somebody who likes to learn, especially when I see an elder who is ready to be engaged. He told me, frankly, Haiti has failed, the government there, which is not hidden. And he told me that in Africa, the people that should be praised, the leader that should be praised in Africa is actually Kagame of Rwanda and this guy in Burkina Faso.
yeah,
You know, there seems to be the two stars in Africa today.
sure.
Good. Now, let's go back to West Africa. You know the union called ECOWAS. Do you think ECOWAS have lived up to expectation?
ECOWAS is a failure.
Good. Why do you think so? Why do you say so?
ECOWAS don't even know their responsibilities. They don't even know what they are doing. They are a group of, I, I don't know how to describe, but they know they know the black things that are in the book, the black letters that are in the book. They know it very well. But technically, they don't know anything. I'm telling you, seriously. People,
O-
for example, Burkina Faso was fighting for their freedom against France. And ECOWAS was saying that they want to attack Niger, they want to attack Burkina Faso. The people who are fighting for their freedom, what is ECOWAS there to do to protect such people?
Okay. So, do you think that our ancestors, those who fought for African independence, do you think that they are more Pan Africanism than the leaders of today?
Yeah, the people, I can say, our, but anyway, they have traitors and they have loyalists. So the people who fight, we saw their effort. The Patrick Lumumba, you come to all of those, Kwame Nkrumah,
Thomas Sankara,
Thomas Sankara, William V. S. Todman, all of those people.
even this man of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yeah. So
Nelson
we,
Mandela,
we know those people very
Kenneth
well.
Kaunda of Zambia,
Yeah, we know those people very well. But these days, our leaders are all criminal. Let me tell you, I,
allegedly.
I warn you, I'm not, it's not. It's reality.
Let's be civil, okay? Let's
No,
be civil.
no, people, the world we live in, the world we are living in, people prefer dodging the truth than the reality. Our leaders are criminal. All of them, they are criminal. If you think they are not criminal, how can someone come to power with few thousands of dollars after they are telling you they are billionaire? They are millionaires.
Anyway, I am beginning to agree with you because, as a son of the soil, if you go to your village, perhaps maybe in the country where I come from, if you come to the village, you are going to see at least two uncompleted government projects. The government came and took the land from the original owners. They refused to give them their benefit, promising that they are going to build this for the betterment of the community. But they will just start the project and abandon it. And if you check the reality, you will see that they have done at least budget for that same project two times or three times, and
Be-
nothing was done.
Because the
Nobody
more
was.
because the more budget they make, the more money they have. Like for
I know.
example, in my country, they will make the budget, send the budget to the house to confirm the budget. They will add the budget up for more money.
Mhm.
And then they take that money and share it between themselves. And in the end, there is no money that will leave for project.
And no one will be sent to prison, no one will be arrested, no one will be judged, nothing will happen. So I will. I am of the opinion that every government personnel in all the states in Africa, we might say, okay, let's exclude Rwanda and Burkina Faso because of their effort. But I will tell you, the rest of them, they are suspect. The rest are suspect. You know the reality. It's not just African, but entire black states in the world. Anywhere blacks are controlling government, you will see that things are happening there that shouldn't have happened. I don't
Sure,
know why it is like that. But this is what I believe, and this is what I've been telling everybody. In my opinion, there is two things I'm going to say about Africa or about black community around the world. Number one, we must stop believing to unite Africa to be one. There is no continent that is. Africa is a continent. I will give you a reason. My brother, you came from a country, I came from another one, and I want to tell you that the enemy of Liberia is not the enemy of Cameroon. Do you know that?
yeah,
Perhaps enemy of Liberia might be USA. Enemy of Cameroon might be France. Now, where will I use as example? Maybe enemy of Congo might be Russia, right? Then, if you go to perhaps Ghana, enemy of Ghana might be China. You will see that the world interest, the world they have, all of them have interest in Africa. So when we pursue collectively to achieve unity, it's going to be impossible because there will be no outside support. Rather, the world will team up against us.
sure,
But if Liberians say, okay, you know what, let us liberate Liberia from our oppressors.
sure,
First, you are going to get brotherhood support within African community. And perhaps if your enemy is USA, you are going to get the support of China and Russia, which will help you to be liberated. You know, so I think Africans have to remember that Africa is a continent, not a state.
Sure.
So we should focus on individual dream. When I say individual dream, I mean a country, that is state of Liberia, fight for your success. If you come to Asia, for example, Japan was the most prosperous Asian state before. China learned from them. And where I am living today, I have never seen a citizen of this country talking about unity of entire Asia. In fact, they don't even care about anybody. They care more about their country. Their number one patriot is to their country, right?
Yeah.
And I've come across a lot of black people, especially those who came from Africa, trying to say, Africa, unite Africa. This, no. ECOWAS, for example, ECOWAS is there like an umbrella to pilot the affair of Africa, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, not ECOWAS, rather, AU, African
Eh,
Union.
yeah.
If you study African Union, you will see that it is just what the world power, especially the EU, the European Union, used to bring the entire Africa in one block so that it will be easier for them to give them order and control them. You will agree with me on this.
Yeah.
So that's why we've got to focus on individual liberation,
Okay. Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
what do you think? Do you think it is more profitable to fight collectively to achieve one state of Africa, or independently, like Liberia, face yourself first?
We need to fight according to the group we are in currently. And when we achieve peace, then we can determine how to go about from there.
Thank you. It has become a big tax for me because, as I am, I have conversation with people, and a lot of Africans have come across, they are still thinking backwards, too backward. What do I mean by that? In 2025, you are talking about uniting entire continent. If you look at the Africa themselves, there is a lot that we do not have in common. Traditionally, religion-wise, all these things we do not have practice one religion, right? There is large number of Islam, Christianity, traditional worshippers, unbeliever, stuff like that. So if you look at that, you will see that already we have been divided.
Sure.
We have been divided. So it is easier for me to say, okay, you know what, Liberia, we have to fight your war. You have to focus on yourself, build yourself, and perhaps your neighbor will look at you and learn from you. That's what happened in Asia. Japan was very prosperous, like European countries, like Americans, because Japan has been prosperous from the beginning.
Yeah.
And China learned from them. From China now, like Korea, Singapore, if all those Asian tigers now say, oh, we too can do it,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So this is my expectation in Africa. I do not agree on one struggle. I believe I love you as much as I love myself. And I believe that if I see you, I have seen myself. But I do not believe that we have to fight collectively to unite the continent once.
It's impossible.
Very impossible. Very impossible, in my opinion. So, as a son of the soil, what step do you think? Let me phrase it in different way. What do you think that Liberia as a country need to do to help and liberate the country from external and internal force?
The first thing, what the Liberians should do, the government of Liberia cannot help the Liberians anymore.
Why do you think so?
because one of the reasons why we don't have any dreamer in our country, we don't have anybody who understands the system and the structure of government, how it works and how it runs to develop country. No one. I'm honest to you from my observation. Even the people we elect as a politician, if they comes to power, they don't know what to do. For example, I'm not asking you to come and just develop the entire country. I'm asking you to come and leave the example of a good project. And with the next government come, they continue that project. And with the next government come, little by little, we will be able to achieve. But everyone who's come to power, the only person who came to power and they created a system, but the system they created was to steal every single dime in our country was Eddie Johnson Selig. George, we are too calm. He just on development like this, but there's no system. And if you are doing something without system, it's bound to collapse. And the current president is another worse one too. So the government cannot help the people of Liberia. Only the people of Liberia can help themselves. And the first way is to take the US embassy out of Liberia. The US embassy is the major reason for Liberia to not be developed. They are the main parasite. So that there where we can start. And when we start from there, we can succeed.